이런 말 들어보셨나요? 자신이 태어나기 전에 무슨 일이 일어났는지를 모르는 것은 평생 어린아이로 남는 것과 같다. 기원전 로마의 정치인 시케로의 말입니다. 오늘은 그런 의미에서 역사적 사실에 대한 제프 베조스의 놀라운 해안을 살펴보겠습니다.
So there are a lot of similarities between the internet and the electric industry. With the electric industry, you actually have to, one of them is that they're both sort of thin horizontal enabling layers that go across lots of different industries. They're not, it's not a specific thing. Part of the electric revolution that I want to focus on is sort of the golden age of appliances. The killer app that got the world ready for appliances was the light bulb. So the light bulb is what wired the world. And they weren't thinking about appliances when they wired the world. They weren't putting electricity into the home. They were putting lighting into the home. And, but it got the electricity everywhere. It took a long time. This was a huge, as you would expect, a huge capital build out. All the streets had to be torn up. This is work going on down in lower Manhattan, where they built some of the first electric power generating stations. And they're tearing up all the streets. The Edison Electric Company, which became Edison General Electric, which became General Electric, paid for all of this digging up of the streets. It was incredibly expensive. So the light bulb laid down the heavy infrastructure, and then home appliances started coming into being. And this was huge. The first one was the electric fan. This is the 1890 electric fan. And the appliances, the golden age of appliances really lasts, you can sort of, it depends on how you want to measure it, but it's anywhere from 40 to 60 years. It goes on a long time, starts about 1890. And the electric fan was a big success. The electric iron, also very big. By the way, this is the beginning of the asbestos lawsuit. There's asbestos under that handle there. This is the first vacuum cleaner, the 1905 Skinner vacuum from the Hoover Company. This one weighed 92 pounds and took 2 people to operate and cost $1/4 of a car. So it wasn't a big seller. This was truly, truly an early adopter product, the 1905 Skinner vacuum. But 3 years later, by 1908, it weighed 40 pounds. The next thing that really was a big, big deal was the washing machine. Now, this was an object of much envy and lust. Everybody wanted one of these electric washing machines. On the left-hand side, this was the soapy water, and there's a rotor there that this motor is spinning, and it'd clean your clothes. This is the clean rinse water. So you'd take the clothes out of here, put them in here, and then you'd run the clothes through this electric wringer. And this was a big deal. You would keep this on your porch. It was a little bit messy. And kind of a pain, and you'd run a long cord into the house where you could screw it into your light socket. And that's actually kind of an important point in my presentation, because they hadn't invented the off switch. That was come much later, the off switch on appliances, because it didn't make any sense. I mean, you didn't want this thing clogging up a light socket, so when you were done with it, you unscrewed it. That's what you did. You didn't turn it off. And as I said before, they hadn't invented the electric outlet either. So the washing machine was a particularly dangerous device. And when you research this, there are gruesome descriptions of people getting their hair and clothes caught in these devices. And they couldn't yank the cord out because it was screwed into a light socket inside the house. And there was no off switch, so it wasn't very good. I believe that where we are with the incredible kludge, and I haven't even talked about user interfaces on the web, but there's so much kludge, so much terrible stuff. We are at the 1908 Hurley washing machine stage with the internet. That's where we are. We don't get our hair caught in it, but that's the level of primitiveness of where we are. We're in 1908. But if you really do believe that it's the very, very beginning, if you believe it's the 1908 Hurley washing machine, then you're incredibly optimistic. And I do think that that's where we are. And I do think there's more innovation ahead of us than there is behind us. And in 1917, Sears, I want to get this exactly right, this was the advertisement that they ran in 1917. It says, "Use your electricity for more than light." And I think that's where we are. We're very, very early. Thank you very much.
I went to a brewery in Luxembourg many years ago now. In fact, this trip was one of the little tiny catalysts for the founding of AWS. And the brewery was 300 years old. This company making beer for 300 years. A lot of the oldest companies in the world are breweries, by the way. I don't know why this is. And they were very proud of their history, and they had a museum. And in that museum was an electric power generator, 100 years old. And because when they wanted to improve the efficiency of their brewery with electricity, there was no power grid. So they had to build their own power station. So they made their own electricity. And at that time, that's what everybody did. If a hotel wanted electricity, they had their own electric generator. And I looked at this and I thought, this is what computation is like today. Everybody has their own data center. And that's not going to last. It makes no sense. You're going to buy compute off the grid. That's AWS. We were doing it internally at Amazon for ourselves, and the APIs were created. That's a very interesting story in its own right. But this is, these kind of horizontal layers, like electricity and compute, and now artificial intelligence, they go everywhere. I guarantee you there is not a single application that you can think of that is not going to be made better by AI.
넥스트 빅신이었습니다. 구독, 좋아요, 알림 설정 부탁합니다.